Unveiling the disturbing truth, America's shocking baby farming scandals you never knew about. In the shadows of suburban streets, where white picket fences and brightly colored playgrounds create an illusion of innocence, a deep and dark secret festers. In the heart of America, right under our noses, lie abandoned cribs and forgotten cries, detailing a chilling reality. Something sinister thrives in these quaint neighborhoods, a whispered rumor of baby farming. It sounds unbelievable, and yet the truth is wrapped in the dealings of desperate souls and hidden secrets that lurk just beyond the facade of normalcy. Picture this, a bustling town fair filled with laughter, cotton candy, and bright balloons. But just around the corner, a dilapidated house stands, peeling paint revealing shadows inside that would make any passerby shudder. Reports of innocuous foundations masked by non-profit charities have led countless mothers down a treacherous path, as they believed they were placing their children in loving hands. Instead, they were unwittingly becoming part of a horrid trade, where sweet, tiny lives were exchanged and exploited in ways so profound that it would shake anyone's morals to the core. As whispers spread like wildfire, the tension mounted. People started to notice the unnerving absence of certain children, the feeling of unease creeping into everyday conversations. "Did you see how many babies went missing this month?" murmured a woman at the grocery store. "Something isn't right." Her voice trembled, eyes darting around like a doe caught in headlights. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But perhaps the most shocking twist lay ahead, a community meeting that promised revelations none could have anticipated. As locals gathered in the old community center, electricity crackled in the air, carrying a potent mix of fear and curiosity. Everyone felt it, the weight of something big, something important about to surface. Who would stand up and speak the truth? As a concerned mother opened her mouth, the room fell into an eerie silence, hearts racing, breath held. Would she unleash the darkness that had been hiding in plain sight? What would she dare to reveal? Each eye was glued on her, the anxious crowd prepared for a truth so disturbing it would echo through the halls of history, reshaping everything they thought they knew. The air was thick with anticipation as the mother, Mary, finally spoke, her voice quivering like a leaf caught in a whirlwind. "I have proof," she said, her eyes darting nervously around the room, as if expecting shadows to swallow her whole. A gasp rippled through the crowd, the tension erupting like a landmine. "What do you mean proof?" a voice yelled from the back, cracking like thunder. "Proof that children are disappearing. I've seen it, and I have evidence. It's happening right here, among us." The room erupted into chaos. Chairs scraped across the linoleum floor as people stood up, incredulous whispers tangled in rising panic. A few mothers clutched their children close, heartbeats matching the frantic tempo of the moment. "Where are they? Who's doing this?" demands came flying from all corners. Mary took a deep breath, pressing her trembling hands against the edges of the rickety podium. "I found records at the charity. Names, adopted families. But they're not really adopted. They were sent elsewhere into I can't explain it all." "Into where?" someone shouted. "What kind of place?" "The Grimm house," she managed, glancing down as the name escaped her lips. The collective shudder was palpable. The Grimm house had been the talk of the town for years, a dilapidated estate where children had been rumored to vanish. It was old news, yet here was the dark specter creeping back, heavier than before. A stack of papers slid from her grasp, scattering across the podium like fallen leaves in a tempest. The audience leaned forward, hungrily searching for names, for connections, evidence that could save what was left of their neglected innocence. I have to show you, Mary implored, but we need to be quiet. Investigators are already looking into this. The babies are caught in a web of lies. In the back of the room, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall man shrouded in darkness, his face partly hidden by a baseball cap. The air shifted as he stepped into the light, eyeing Mary with an unsettling intensity. The crowd fell silent, dread saturating every inch of the community center. You should have kept your mouth shut, Mary, he said, his voice low but laced with sharp edges. You have no idea who you're up against. A gasp from the crowd echoed like a warning bell. An icy grip of fear clawed at Mary's stomach, her instinct screaming to flee. But she didn't move. Her determination burned brighter than her fear, emboldened by the thought of the children, those innocent lives trapped in an unimaginable ordeal. Get out! Get out of here, someone screamed, the panic spreading rapidly. Listen to her! Mary shouted. They won't stop. They'll come for us all. With that, confusion and chaos ensued as people began to flee in every direction, some toward the doors, while others sought the safety of the shadows. The man swept through the crowd, determined and cold, like a wolf amidst sheep. His eyes locked onto Mary, and for a brief moment, time seemed to freeze, the intensity of the moment like the ending of a nightmare. Mary, he said, taking a step closer, each stride measured and menacing. You've gone too far. The room twofold with panic and breathless urgency, questions hanging in the air like smoke. But then, amidst the chaos, a small voice broke through, clear and innocent. Mommy? Just a child, standing alone in the chaos. And that single word sent the room reeling. Could it be one of them? A victim amongst this dread? As eyes turned in fear, faces paled, the impending storm on the horizon loomed larger. What would she do now? Where was the safety in a town shrouded in secrets? And then, just as quickly, the lights flickered. In an instant, the sense of safety evaporated. The sound of a door slamming shut echoed through the air, leaving a lingering question that hung thick. When the shadows fall, who would dare to step into the light? The answers were still hidden, but they crept closer, lurking just beyond the edge of understanding. The panic crushed the air, thick and suffocating. Mary felt like she was submerged, drowning in the sea of fear that engulfed the room. Everywhere she looked, faces twisted in anxiety and confusion, eyes darting back and forth, searching for what? Hope? Safety? But there was none, only a rising tide of chaos. Mommy! The small voice pierced through the storm of hysteria, offering a glimmer of pure innocence amidst the dark. Mary's heart raced as she spotted her daughter, Lily, a little girl with curly hair and wide eyes, standing frozen at the edge of the gathering. Lily! Mary shouted, her voice cutting through the noise like a knife, filled with urgency. She dashed toward her, weaving through the sea of people who were now rushing toward the exits. You shouldn't be here. The tall man with the baseball cap was moving too, gliding closer to them, and the air frosted at his approach. It's not safe. In that moment, as Mary reached her daughter, horror gripped her. The man had turned his attention to Lily. A bristling tension formed, arching like electricity. Stay away from her! Mary shouted, wrapping her arms protectively around her child. The man smirked, a contorted expression on his face that turned her blood cold. Oh, Mary, you misunderstand. My interest isn't in your daughter, not yet at least. But you've opened a door that should have remained shut. He glanced around, scanning the panicked crowd. And for that, you will pay the price. With a shuddering breath, Mary pulled Lily closer, squeezing her eyes shut for just a moment, focusing all her thoughts on escape. We need to get out of here. She tightened her grip, ready to bolt. But how could she move among all these frantic bodies? The lights flickered once more, and it felt as if the building itself held its breath. Shadows swirled in the corners, and Mary could almost hear whispers trailing behind the crowd, echoes of those who had vanished without a trace. Mary! A voice rang out, sharp enough to slice through the noise. It was Thomas, her husband, desperately pushing his way toward them. "I'm here." Relief surged through her, but fear tugged at her heartstrings. What danger had he stumbled into? "Get Lily!" she cried, her eyes pleading with him as they locked gazes, two hearts beating as one amid the horror. Thomas reached them, but the obscured figure blocked his path, a predator watching the prey. "You think you can escape?" The man sneered, taking a step forward as those around them took a collective involuntary step back. Fear saturated the air, turning it viscous. "You should know better than to meddle in affairs beyond your comprehension." Mary's pulse quickened. "What are you? Who are you?" "Someone who knows the truth and who will make sure no one else does." But Thomas didn't falter. "We're not afraid of you. We'll fight." "Fight?" The man's laughter was low and hollow, reverberating through the chaos around them. Then he turned abruptly, his eyes narrowing. "Then consider this your final warning." In that instant, the crowd erupted, a frantic current surging toward the exits. Although the chaos threatened to engulf them, Mary's eyes never left his, unwilling to comply with his threat. That shimmer of courage flickered between uncertainty and resolve. As the last of the lights blinked out, plunging everything into darkness, a scream split the air, sharp and haunting. "Run!" Thomas shouted. The family turned to flee. But in the enveloping blackness, a deafening bang rang out, and a chilling, sinister voice promised from the shadows, "This is far from over what awaited them outside." And would they ever truly escape the horrors lurking behind the grim house? The world erupted into chaos as Mary, Thomas, and Lily stumbled through the jostling crowd. They could barely see, but pressing forward felt like the only option. The thrumming of fear in Mary's ears made it hard to think straight. With every step, she felt the weight of the darkness close in, thick and suffocating. Lily squeezed her hand, her small fingers trembling. "Mommy, I'm scared." Her voice was a shaky whisper, a sharp contrast to the frenzied shouts around them. "I know, sweetheart," Mary murmured, her heart aching. They had to escape, but where could they go? The exits seemed a blur of frenzied bodies. Just beyond the crowd lurked the man in the baseball cap, a predator in the storm. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, and the crowd halted, momentarily stunned into silence. In that fleeting calm, Thomas turned to his family, his expression fierce. "We need to find a way out now." Before Mary could respond, the flickering lights went out again. A low rumble of discontent rose through the crowd, panic returning like a tidal wave. Mary felt it wash over her, leaving her gasping. The oppressive darkness seemed alive, closing in around her, and she could almost sense the figure looming just behind them. "Together," she urged, voice firm but quaking in her chest. They pressed deeper into the crowd, stepping cautiously to avoid being swept away. Suddenly, the air grew electric, crackling with tension. A sudden shriek erupted from somewhere to their left, followed by another gunshot that shattered the brief stillness, echoing through the building. "Move!" Thomas yelled, his voice cutting through the horror. They pushed their way toward a nearby door, desperation tinged with dread. As they fled, Mary caught glimpses of faces twisted in panic, eyes wide and wild. Shadows danced along the walls, flickering under the emergency lights, struggling to restore order. Emerging from the dense mass, they stumbled out into an alley behind the building. The cold night air hit them like ice water, shocking but liberating. Moonlight spilled through jagged shapes cast by the narrow buildings on each side of the alley. Just before they broke into a run, a chilling laugh echoed from the entrance of the grim house. "Run all you want." The sinister voice taunted, echoing into the night as darkness followed him, thick as fog. "But you can't outrun the truth." Mary's heart raced as she propelled her family onwards. They sprinted through the alley, feet pounding against the pavement, fear propelling them forward. With each step, Mary could feel the weight of the man's words pressing against her more heavily. What truth? She thought frantically, a knot twisting in her stomach. "That man." "You opened a door," Thomas said, almost as if reading her thoughts. He glanced back, anxiety etched across his features. But what did he mean by that? We don't have time for questions. Mary gasped, pulling Lily closer, her legs beginning to tire. The world around them blurred, shadows closing in. An oppressive sense of being hunted loomed behind them. They rounded a corner into a wider street, the frantic honks and bright lights immersing them in a whirlpool of urban noise. Sucking in sharp breaths, they slowed long enough to scan their surroundings. "Where do we go?" Lily whimpered. Mary glanced around, thoughts jumbling. There had to be a plan, a safe place. And then from the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of something flicker in the shadows, an old, brick building with a sign barely readable in the dim light. "In there." Mary pointed, urgency pouring through her veins. "It might be safe." "Are you sure?" Thomas questioned, glancing back nervously. But the sounds of confusion from the street behind them quickened, and they rushed toward the door before the man could catch up. Just as they neared the entrance, the brick structure groaned, and Mary abruptly froze, heart pounding. Did she really want to go inside? What if it was a trap? But behind them, the darkness was relentless. With one final look at Thomas and Lily, she grasped the handle and pushed the door open. The moment they entered, the air shifted cold and damp, sending shivers down her spine. She could barely see, just shadows pooling in every direction. Then they heard it, a soft, rhythmic thump, 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 echoing in the depths of the building, a heartbeat beneath the thick, eerie silence. "What is that?" Lily whispered, clutching her mother's arm tighter and anxiously glancing around. Mary's heart seized. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. What have we walked into? She wondered, sweat trickling down her brow as an underlying feeling of dread rolled through her. In the darkness, as the door creaked ominously behind them, something stirred, and the thumping grew louder. What was waiting for them in the shadows? And would they ever truly uncover the truth hidden within the grim house? The darkness enveloped them like a living thing, pulsing with each thud that reverberated through the aged walls of the brick building. Mary held her breath, straining to hear any sound that would reveal the source of the heartbeat. "Stay close," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the stillness, a fragile thread in a world teetering on the edge. Lily whined softly, "What if it's a monster?" Mary shuddered at the thought, but she forced a smile. "Monsters aren't real, sweetheart," she lied, clenching Lily's hand. They stepped cautiously, guided only by the faint moonlight filtering through dirty windows, casting twisted shadows across the floor. Each step felt drawn out, laden with the potential for discovery or disaster. The thumping persisted, steady and rhythmic, a constant reminder that they weren't alone. Thomas led the way, his brow furrowed, hands balled into fists. "Let us find a way out. This building can't be too huge." He moved forward, his tense body coiled like a spring ready to snap. "What if it is a trap?" Mary's voice cracked under the weight of her uncertainty. "What if we're just walking into something worse? Or what if there's safety away from that man?" Thomas countered, his determination pushing them further inside. They crept down a dim corridor, the fingers of darkness reaching out around them. The intermittent heartbeat was matched by a growing sense of dread. Mary strained to break the silence. What if those screams we heard? What if we're next? Her heart thundered in her chest, threatening to drown out the ominous sound surrounding them. They were deep within the building now, and the memories of the chaos outside felt like a lifetime ago. Yet every moment, every breath drew them deeper into this unsettling space. "Look!" Lily pointed to an open door just up ahead, her face flushed with a mix of fear and curiosity. Light flickered from within, barely illuminating the dark spaces around it. Mary's pulse quickened. The light felt like a beacon, a promise of hope, or perhaps a trap baited with something even more sinister. "We should keep moving," she said, biting her lip, but Thomas shook his head, stepping closer toward the glow. "No, we need to know what's in there," he urged. It could be an exit, or help. With a silent agreement born of necessity, they approached the door, the rhythmic thumping growing louder as they neared. It seemed to resonate with every heartbeat, a chanting rhythm echoing the fear housed within them. As Thomas reached for the handle, Mary felt her stomach drop. Something was wrong. "I don't like this," she whispered, stepping back involuntarily. Her instincts screamed at her to turn and flee. Before she could voice her concerns, Thomas pulled the door open. The room burst forth with harsh, blinding light. Shadows flickered wildly, revealing a sight that made Mary recoil. Inside, mannequins adorned with tattered clothes were arranged in a macabre fashion, their lifeless eyes staring straight ahead. Each mannequin held a small, lifelike doll, a perfect replica of a baby. The sight was surreal and sickening, each doll peering into the room as if waiting for their time to breathe. "Why?" Lily's voice trembled, fascination mingling with terror. "It's some kind of sick display," Thomas breathed, horror creeping across his features, but Mary noticed something else. The heartbeat from deeper inside the room had shifted. It no longer pulsed steadily, it was fluctuating, quickening, almost panicking. Then came the sound of something scraping against the floor, followed by a low, echoing chuckle. "So, you found the nursery?" Mary's blood ran cold as a figure emerged from the shadows, a grin spreading across a face twisted with something far worse than madness. "What have you brought here?" the man in the cap asked, and she suddenly understood the truth she wished she hadn't uncovered. With heart-stopping dread, she realized they weren't just in a trap. They had wandered into a nightmare, and the true horror was just beginning. "Run!" she screamed as the pounding grew louder still, echoing as if the very walls were welcoming their doom. But where would they run to now? The heart of the grim house awaited, and deep down, Mary felt the chilling echo of the man's voice. The truth cannot be outrun. What revelations lay hidden in the shadows of this nightmare? And could they escape before the truth consumed them all? Mary's scream fractured the air, sharp with terror, propelling them into motion. The figures around them blurred as they bolted deeper into the room, the stench of dust and decay clawing at their throats. Every instinct screamed for survival as they stumbled past the grotesque mannequins, unable to look back. "Where do we go?" Thomas shouted, panic lacing his voice. "There's no door back there." Mary's heart raced, darting from thought to thought, searching for a way out. The collected gaze of the dolls felt alive, judging. "Maybe," she gasped, pointing left into a murky passageway lined with cobwebs. "We can try down there." But the man in the cap laughed, that unsettling laugh, a twisted sound that echoed through the room like a sinister lullaby. "You can't run from what you've already seen, from what you've disturbed." Lily shivered, gripping Mary's hand as they sprinted towards the shadowy passage. "I don't want to go back," she cried. "I don't want to see the dolls anymore." His haunting chuckle followed them, growing fainter but never truly disappearing. When they reached the passage, an eerie stillness settled around them. They paused, their breaths heavy and labored, ears straining for any sound that would reveal whether the man followed. Inside the corridor, peeling wallpaper sagged, revealing the raw brick beneath, dirty and cold. Deep shadows flitted in the corners, creating monstrous shapes that danced as if mocking their fear. "Keep going," Thomas urged, shoving Mary forward. Behind them, the thumping remained steady, relentless. It felt as if the walls themselves were alive, pulsing with a heartbeat that quickened alongside theirs. "Do you think he wants the dolls back?" Lily's soft whimper broke through the tension like glass shattering. Mary shuddered, the thought hanging heavy in the air. The dolls weren't just decorations, they were part of something sinister, something that had been disturbed by their arrival. It didn't matter now. They needed to escape while they could. They stumbled into a wider area, a dilapidated common room filled with rusted furniture. Faded photographs hung askew on the walls, depicting smiles that were long since buried beneath the weight of despair. A flickering bulb overhead cast grotesque shadows that danced across the floor, evoking the specters of the past they so desperately wanted to leave behind. Mary spotted a window on the far side, partially covered in grime but still offering hope. "There. We can get out through there." She ran towards it, trembling fingers grasping the window frame, but it wouldn't budge. "It's locked." "Here, let me." Thomas stepped forward, putting every ounce of strength into the frame. Mary glanced around, feeling their time slipping away. "Don't look back," she commanded, but the pounding echoed closer, vibrating through the floor. The terror-stricken face of the man in the cap danced in her mind like a nightmare come to life. "Damn it!" Thomas hissed, sweat drenching his brow as he hit the frame one last time. With a deafening crash, the window shattered, sending glass flying like deadly rain. "Go, go!" Mary urged, lifting Lily under the arms, pushing her through the jagged opening. Outside, the cool night air rushed in, a mirage of safety. Thomas was right behind them, his heart racing as he climbed through, rough edges nicking his sides. Just as he pulled his legs through, the resonating laughter echoed down the hall. The man was coming, and he was no mere nightmare. "Let us move." Mary pulled Lily to her feet and ran into the moonlight, not daring to look back. But the moment their feet touched the ground outside, a part of Mary felt lost. How deep had they entered this hell? As they dashed into the trees, she sensed the silence around them had shifted. Now they were being watched, trailed. "Where are we going?" Lily's small voice trembled, grasping Mary's hand tightly as they darted into the darkness of the forest. Mary didn't know. Panic choked her heart. "We'll find a way, I promise. We just have to keep running." But with every footfall, the realization sank in. They had entered a world of twisted horrors, and the nightmare was far from over. Was this escape merely a new beginning of darkness? And what did it mean for the future they were fighting to reclaim? The answers lay shrouded within the shadows, beckoning them to uncover what they couldn't escape. Branches clawed at their skin as they plunged deeper into the forest. The shadows twisted around them, whispering secrets of ancient evil. Mary's heart thundered in her chest, every beat echoing the fear that consumed her. She could feel the weight of those icy eyes boring into her, the man in the cap lurking just out of sight. "Keep going," she shouted, though her voice trembled with dread. Ahead, the trees stood like sentinels, their gnarled limbs creating a web that trapped the moonlight, suffocating the path forward. "Mary! I can't." Lily wheezed, her small feet stumbling over the uneven ground. "Just a little further," Mary urged. "We'll find a place to hide." Thomas sprinted ahead, glancing over his shoulder. "What if he finds us? What if those dolls are more than just dolls?" Their footsteps muffled by thick underbrush, the forest devoured the sounds of the world outside. Sirens screamed faintly in the distance, reminders of the town they'd fled but couldn't quite abandon. Staring into the darkness, Mary's mind raced. Did the chaos back there draw the man to them, like a moth to a flame? As they trudged on, they stumbled into a clearing, illuminated by sporadic moonbeams. In the center stood an old stone well, vines coiling around it like the fingers of a grasping hand. The air grew heavy, whispering of long-forgotten tales, of wishes abandoned, and of ghosts hungry for company. "Look!" Thomas pointed at the ancient stones. "Maybe we can hide inside." Mary felt a chill dance down her spine. Would it protect them or trap them? Without answering, she pulled Lily close, casting glances over her shoulder. If the man had followed them, this would be the worst place to be cornered. "Come on," she urged, but as they approached the well, a sickening dread nestled in the pit of her stomach. The moment they reached the rim, a dark figure flitted just beyond the edge of the forest. Mary felt her breath hitch. The laughter echoed again, the same cruel, infected sound that lingered like a chill in the air. The man was closer than they realized. "Mary!" Thomas hissed, dragging her away from the well's ledge. "But what about hiding?" she protested, fighting against his pull. "No. Look." He pointed at something illuminated by the moonlight next to the well, a bundle of fabric, tattered and aged. It looked strikingly like one of the dolls from the room, its face stitched with a frozen scream. "We have to go," Mary shouted, her senses sparking on high alert. But as they backed away, the figure in the shadows stepped into the light, a woman shrouded in black, her expression a mask of sorrow and anger. "You owe them, you've awakened their anger." Mary's breath caught. "What do you mean?" The woman's sunken eyes locked onto Lily, who whimpered and shrank behind Mary's legs. "The dolls, they're not just creations. They're remnants of lives lost. You must put them back." "What?" that man Thomas stammered, his voice fractured. "He wants them back." "Wants?" "No." The woman trembled, the stillness of her voice curling around them like smoke. "He needs them to keep the true horror at bay." Before they could comprehend her words, the ground trembled slightly beneath their feet, as if resonating with a heartbeat louder than their own. Mary could feel the very air pulsating with threat. "What have we done?" she whispered, terror clawing at her throat. Lily squeezed her hand, and Mary instinctively moved closer to the well, danger buzzing in her veins. "We need to decide who to trust," she said, her voice low but fierce. The woman's eyes flared with intensity. And in that moment of heart-stopping tension, the surrounding shadows seemed to ripple, shifting like waves in anticipation. The ground rumbled louder, furious, more alive than before. "Make your choice. Or be consumed." The woman yelled, her voice echoing through the clearing. Mary felt the chilling grip of fear as she faced the ancient well, where darkness awaited, a gaping mouth hungering for past souls. Could they risk appeasing the spirits they had unwittingly disturbed? Or should they run from the woman whose intentions remained veiled in shadows? With the air thick with uncertainty and the man's laughter lurking just behind them, Mary knew the time to act was now. But as she turned back to the woman, a terrifying thought flashed in her mind: what if the key to their survival lay within a choice she was too afraid to make? The ground shook again, sending tremors through Mary's legs. She felt as if she were teetering on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss where nightmares clawed and echoed. The woman continued to stare at them, her eyes gleaming with urgency and despair. "Please." Mary's voice cracked. "What do you mean by putting them back? Where? And who is he? Why does he want them?" Lily clutched Mary's leg tighter, her face pale under the moon's ghostly glow. The air was thick with confusion and fear, suffocating their thoughts. Mary wanted answers, but terror gnawed at her. "The man in the cap," the woman replied, her breath shallow as if the very words drained her. "He's not what he seems. He's not a protector, he's a jailer. The dolls hold the spirits of those lost, and he keeps them chained to this world. If you don't return what you took, worse things will awaken." "Return what?" Thomas's voice was barely above a whisper, a glimmer of understanding breaking through. "What did we take?" The woman pointed a bony finger toward the well, where the shadows danced like fireflies, beckoning them closer. "Your friend. The girl you abandoned," she said, her gaze piercing through the darkness to uncover an unseen truth. "You thought it was just a game. It was real." Images flooded Mary's mind, flashes of a girl once a part of their lives, gone too soon, a friend who had joined the ranks of the lost. They tossed her aside when the laughter got too wild, thinking she'd always come back. But what if that laughter had been a call for help? What if that call had led to something sinister? "No." Mary shook her head, fear strangling her words. "We weren't, you were. It doesn't matter." The woman's voice rose, urgent and fierce. "That spirit is bound to the dolls. If their anger is awakened, they cannot be silenced. And the man, he'll come for you." As if summoned by her words, a chilling wind rushed through the clearing, swirling around them like sinister whispers. Mary's stomach twisted painfully. Time was short. "What do we do?" Thomas said, his voice trembling. "If we find the others, we might still have a chance." The woman's expression darkened. You have what you need to decide, each of you carries it within. But the risk is great. One decision can bind you to this place forever. Mary's breath came shallow and rapid. The laughter echoed again, louder, as if stepping closer from all angles. Anger rumbled through the forest, as if the spirits stirred with the promise of a reckoning. Make your choice quickly. The woman shouted. Or I fear you will not leave this clearing alive. Mary's heart raced. What if she was too late? What if the very evil they needed to escape was already inside them, waiting to emerge? In that terrible instant, a bright flash of light illuminated the clearing, revealing the contours of the well, its stones sparkling under the white-hot glare. But it didn't obscure the shadows that lurked just beyond, ready to pounce. Please! Lily cried, her small voice breaking through. Don't let him take us. I want to go home. The man's laughter pierced the thick fog of fear in the air, articulate and mocking, creeping into their ears and wrapping around their minds. Mary's instincts screamed at her to run, but where? The well? The figure? Time was slipping away. Trust your instincts. The woman's voice sliced through the confusion, a lifeline in the chaos. Face what lies inside you, before it consumes not only you but everyone you ever cared for. Clenching her jaw, Mary felt something surge within her, a determination rising against the tide of terror. She would confront whatever darkness had been awakened, even if it meant facing her own truths, but as she took a step forward, horror gripped her heart anew. In the distance, beyond the shadows, she saw him, the man in the cap, slowly emerging from the darkness, eyes fixed on them with a predatory gaze. Time's up. He crooned, a sinister smile curling at his lips. Mary felt as if the ground had dropped out from beneath her, the darkness swallowing her whole. They had to act fast. In that moment of frantic clarity, what was at stake became even clearer, like the dark edges of fate closing in. Would her choice lead them to salvation or plunge them deeper into despair? Would their past sins rise to haunt them, or perhaps become the key to their freedom? In the swift dance of shadows, Mary knew they had only one chance, and it was slipping away. What do we do? She whispered, eyes wide with terror as the shadows began to close in. And as the last fragment of moonlight vanished, the only thing she could hear was her own heartbeat, a frantic drum signaling the final seconds of reckoning. A cold silence draped over the clearing, heavy and oppressive. The laughter that had once felt playful now morphed into a sinister echo, surrounding them like an unseen entity, taunting them with their past mistakes. Mary felt the tightening of despair in her chest as the man in the cap stepped closer, his face framed by the shadows. The moon hung high, lighting his features just enough to reveal a smirk that chilled her to the bone. Look at you, scrambling in the dark, he said, his voice smooth yet dripping with malice. So full of fear. So full of guilt. Each word dripped with a malevolence that sent a shiver racing down her spine. Thomas broke first, taking a step back. We didn't mean to. His voice trembled, the resolve they'd shared moments before flickering like a candle in the wind. It was just a game. A game? The man laughed, sharp and mocking. You turned life into a plaything. And now, the spirits demand a reckoning. Mary squeezed Lily's hand tighter, trying to ground herself amidst the growing chaos. Lily's grip was cold, like a lifeline slipping away. We have to face this, together, Mary said, forcing herself to sound brave. But doubt clawed at her. We can't let him take us. With every heartbeat, the shadows encroached, the pleading whispers of the spirits mercilessly echoing around them. Mary remembered the girl they had left behind in their reckless pursuit of fun, the laughter that had turned to screams before falling silent. What if this was all part of a cruel game they had begun? The woman stood by the well, her features obscured as shadows danced around her. There is still a chance, but you must choose wisely. Confront your past and release her, or embrace the darkness within. I can't do this. Lily cried, tears streaming down her pale cheeks. The innocent look on her face made Mary's heart ache. How could they put this burden on a child? Mary turned back to the woman, desperation now tinged with daring. How do we set her free? She demanded, her voice barely above a whisper. The sacrifice made has a price, the woman replied, her voice laden with sorrow. You must face the truth of your actions. Only then can the chains be broken. A tremor ran through Mary's spine, and she glanced back at the man, whose smile deepened as he read the haunted expression in her eyes. Are you willing to pay that price? He sneered. Suddenly, the wind howled like a wounded animal, and the darkness leapt closer, embracing them in its icy grip. Mary's mind raced, visions of the past enveloping her like a tidal wave. Would they finally uncover the truth? Would the spirits of the lost come for them? He's right, Thomas said, his voice barely audible, fear radiating from him. What if confronting it means losing everything? What if we have to sacrifice? A blinding flash erupted, engulfing the clearing in light so blinding that they all shielded their eyes. When they opened them again, the well had transformed, pulsating with a dark energy. The dolls, lit beneath the moonlight, seemed to twitch and breathe, the very essence of the spirits trapped within. Face the truth, the woman urged, her features twisting in pain. Release her. Or live the horror forever. In that instant, a chilling realization struck Mary. To face her past, she would become vulnerable, each fear, each mistake laid bare. With every instinct screaming at her to flee, she knew retreating was not an option. The path to salvation conducted through the heart of darkness. As the man took another step forward, the ground beneath them trembled in warning. Shadows slithered and danced, and with a heart full of determination, Mary cried out, "We'll face it. Together." But would that unity be enough to silence the anger of the lost or awaken something far worse? The well's lights flickered ominously, every heartbeat echoing in a countdown. As darkness pressed in, a question lingered in the air: is this the moment of reckoning, or just the beginning of a terrifying descent? The darkness felt alive, pulsing with each heartbeat, echoing like a sinister drum in the night air. Fear clung to Mary, wrapping its icy fingers around her heart as she gathered all her courage. The moment had come, no more running. They had to confront the twisted shadows of their past. The man in the cap loomed closer, a predator delighted at the hunt. "Courage," he taunted. "Such a lovely face for desperation. But tell me, what will that bravery cost you?" Thomas glanced at Mary, lips pressed together. "We have to tell the truth, don't we?" "Yes," Mary whispered, her throat tight. "For Lily and for the others." Though her palms felt clammy, she squared her shoulders together. Each breath seemed to echo a resounding call to action. They had awakened something terrible, and now it was time to face it. Mary turned to Lily and knelt down so they were eye to eye. "We're going to set things right, sweetheart. Stick with us." Lily nodded, her tiny face pale, but determination flickering in her wide eyes. "Look at her," the man sneered, "so naive, so innocent. Thinks love can save you from the specter of your past." The shadows writhed angrily at his words. He stepped closer, his breath full of rotting intention. "She'll be the first to suffer the consequences." "Enough!" Mary shouted, her voice steady as steel. "You won't harm her. We're taking responsibility for what we did." The man laughed, a sound that clawed at Mary's sanity. She felt the spirits stirring around them, sensing her resolve. "And how do you plan to do that? By confronting your guilt? You don't even know where to start." But she did. A wave of memories crashed over her, swirling with regret and pain. They had left their friend behind in a moment of fun, dismissing her fears for their laughter. "We lost someone once," Mary said, her voice shaking but firm. "We thought it was a game. But now, we know the truth." With that, she took a decisive step toward the man. "We owe her more than what we gave. We're ready to face the darkness together." Suddenly, the room convulsed with energy, shadows engorged as if the very walls howled in anguish. The pulse of the darkness grew louder, but so did the determination inside Mary. The spirits were restless, demanding acknowledgement of their pain. "Release her!" the woman from the clearing cried, now standing among them like a beacon. "You must let the spirits of the lost know you are no longer in denial." Mary screamed out, "We're sorry. We regret leaving her behind. We didn't know, please forgive us." A heavy wind surged through the clearing, twisting and coiling like a living snake. The dolls' heads turned toward her, eyes wide and pleading. Just then, the man's laughter morphed into a terrible growl. "No! You can't just," but he was cut short as the shadows twisted violently around him, dragging him back as if the spirits rose to retaliate against their jailer. Mary felt the air tremble, pulsing with life and energy. "We are here. We're willing to face everything," she cried, fighting back the surge of fear. "Face your guilt. Pay the price, or be condemned to shadow yourselves." The woman's voice rang true, echoing an urgent chord. And then it struck Mary the sudden clarity. "We abandoned her and thought she would return. But we must give what we took back." She turned towards the well, facing the twisting shadows reflecting her grim past. "We'll give back the laughter, we'll carry her memory. She is not a lost doll. She was our friend." As the words broke free from her lips, the air shimmered with raw energy. Suddenly, light erupted from within the well, illuminating the clearing with a radiant beam that fought off the shadows. The man's howls rose above the storm swirling around them, intermingling with the desperate wails of the spirits. Mary seized the moment, the fear within her morphing into an electrifying determination. "Lily, hold my hand. Thomas, we need to show them we care." In that moment, with hearts racing, they stood resolute, forming a chain of empathy, each person linking together. The light from the well reached out, creating a bridge to their lost friend, for every laughter shared among them, for every memory that brought joy. Together, Mary shouted, "We are here. We will not forget." The shadows trembled, finally acknowledging the warmth of their renewed bond. A wave surged forth, the man howled but was engulfed in the hollow sounds of the spirits rising, transforming from rage to sorrow. "I will never forget you," Mary cried out, tearful but resolved. "I promise we will carry your memory in every song we share. You will live through us." The light exploded around them, banishing the darkness, finally releasing the hold this nightmare had over their lives. As the man in the cap screamed and dissolved into the light, Mary took a deep breath, feeling the weight lift. The spirits of the lost embraced the warmth, releasing their anguish into ethereal freedom. Lily looked up at her mother, eyes shimmering. "Are they okay now? Can they rest?" "Yes, love. They can finally rest," Mary sniffed, her heart both heavy and light, echoing memories of a lost friend who would never be forgotten. As dawn broke overhead, painting the clearing with hues of gold, the woman smiled through her tears. "You've faced the darkness. You've made them whole." In that moment, they understood this was a new beginning. They had confronted the past, and through that pain, they would push forward as a family, forever aware of the love that bound them. With the darkness behind them, and sunlight spilling across the resurrected ground, Mary felt hope ignite within. Together, they returned to the light, and with that promise wrapped around them like a warm embrace, they stepped forward, each heart beating fiercely alive amid a world renewed. But before they could take more than just a moment, they felt a pull, an invitation. "Don't forget," echoed through the air, "what lives in shadows sometimes is never lost. Hold tight to your truth." With that, the adventure turned real. It was no longer just about escape, but a commitment to carry forward, to remember and honor all that had been lost. Mary turned to Thomas and Lily, the dawn reflecting in their eyes, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Now, readers, it's time for you to join the story. If you're still here, you need to subscribe now and tap that bell icon. This is the moment to show your support. If this conclusion moved you, smash that like button now so we can verify that you want more amazing tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about these revelations. How will this change our heroes' journeys? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who have to see this conclusion. Let's spread the word about the stories that matter together.